quite a bit. So one thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that, you know, even though we're all in the same spot here, we all had pretty much the same goal in mind when we started Lambda School. Our goal was to either achieve, success in a field that, we felt more respected in, or maybe it was just, financial reasons, maybe to take care of your family, whatever the reason may be. We all had the same goal in mind. So I think now that we're all at this point where we may be struggling, some of you may be getting offers from other places that may not be in the tech field. And some people out there may be thinking, well, it's kind of at a point now where I need to start making some money. I might have to start making some more sacrifices. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that we all, whether you're in that position or not, I'm not going to tell somebody else, that needs to take care of their family that they shouldn't get a part-time job or something like that. But I just wanted to reiterate that there have been millions of people in this position before, where they've struggled, they've thought about different options, and then they've persevered and pushed through, and obtained their goals. So with that in mind, I have some examples that I'd like to share of people who've been in that same position before. In light of what Thomas mentioned last week about George Clooney. He mentioned that George Clooney, who obviously is very successful now, had many struggles, failed multiple auditions, and it was all about, in the end, changing his mindset to achieve success. So, Albert Einstein. One thing about him you may or may not have known was that he didn't actually speak until he was 4 years old. He failed an entrance exam at 16 for a polytechnic school in Zurich. He did eventually enter college, but did very poorly and nearly dropped out. Took a job afterward as a door-to-door insurance salesman for a couple years, and then later brought us the theory of relativity, groundbreaking work in mathematics and physics, and won a Nobel Prize in 1921 and created the beginnings of quantum theory. Bill Gates created the huge company known as Trafo Data that you may or may not have heard of, with his buddy Paul Allen. It was to analyze raw traffic data and present it to traffic engineers. It could read traffic data tapes and produce results without having to do the work manually. They set up a demo for the supervisor of the Seattle Traffic Department, who came to see it, and the device completely failed, didn't work at all. And then he later enrolled in Harvard, only to drop out a year later and create a company called Microsoft with fellow failure Paul Allen. Elvis Presley failed multiple auditions as a vocalist and recorded multiple demo discs that did absolutely nothing, being told once from an audition that he couldn't sing at all. He took a job as a truck driver before meeting Eddie Bond and arranging some recordings. Presley sung at the recordings, but nothing came of it. However, he did get the attention of a professional DJ, and his career took off after that. Harrison Ford. In 1964, he had a small role in a movie called Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round at the age of 24. Studio executives told him that he would never make it in this business. Jim Carrey and Jerry Seinfeld both bombed their first attempts at stand-up and were heckled and booed off stage. Katy Perry dropped out of high school at 15, moved to Tennessee to record music, signed with Red Hill Records, and made an album that only sold 200 copies. So then 5 years later, at the age of 20, she signed with a label called Java that was associated with Def Jam. Def Jam later dropped Java, and then they dropped Katy Perry's album. She later signed with Columbia Records and recorded music for 2 years, but before the album was complete, they dropped her as well. And then in 2007, she signed with Capitol Records and recorded the song I Kissed a Girl, and finally hit success and blew up after that. So those are just a few examples of people that, like I said, had to overcome some difficulties and later achieve success in the field they were looking to achieve it in. And I think, again, reiterating that it's all a mindset, and it's something you can push through if you choose to. So a lot of things I like to reference, or I reference back to are sports related. I'm a huge football fan. I grew up playing football and wrestling. As you can see here, I got my Colts shirt on. So a lot of times, I'm a very competitive person. So a lot of times I relate things to relate things back to football. So or wrestling. So both of those sports, they are technically team sports. People may not realize that. And wrestling, obviously, a lot of times, it's one-on-one, but you do wrestle as part of a team and acquire points. And then the more points that a team has, that team wins. So you may be able to beat your opponent, but if the rest of your team gets spanked, then your team loses. And then same thing in football. Football is 11 on 11, but it's all about the individual battles. You beat your man across from you. And I think a lot of that can be brought back to what we're doing here. And what I mean by that is, what are you doing to beat your competition on a daily basis? Because while we're all doing this individually, we might be in our own homes and, we don't see the competition. However, we all know it's out there. There's people in your same city applying for the same jobs you're applying for. And it's all about what you're doing to beat that person. So I'd just like to reiterate the fact that everyone has the ability to achieve their goals. Maybe it's, you need to change your approach in your job search. Maybe you need to spend more time studying or whiteboarding. Whatever it is, what it is that you need to do and what will help you the most. And if not, you've got an incredibly unique pool of individuals around you that are all going through the same thing, as well as an incredible staff at Lambda School that has invested in you and your success. So with that, I just wanted to say that it's on you to take the next steps and, what you can do to better yourself each day and beat the competition. So in closing, I'd just like to say that whether you think you can or you can't do it, you're right. And I hope you all have a great day moving forward. Sorry if that wasn't, I guess that wasn't quite as long as I'd hoped it to be. But Sean, I hope you're good to go, man. I don't have much else.
I have a question for you.
If anybody would like to share some personal stories that they've either pushed through or are currently trying to push through, I think that would be a good thing to do also. Because like, for instance, myself, I have received multiple offers from other companies outside the tech industry. I've been struggling for a while now to get a job in the tech field. I've been to a handful of interviews, bombed most of them. Had a couple that I thought went well, but didn't hear anything back from. So, I actually do have another interview tomorrow. So I'm hoping that things go well there. But if not, I'll still be back here in the same place Wednesday morning, ready to continue. So I just want everybody to know that, again, we're all in the same place. If you're out there struggling alone, just know that you're not the only one, and, we're all right there with you. So
I would love to share. Anthony, I thank you. I found that very inspirational, and I can definitely relate with a personal experience I had. Was I went through a separation from my wife, and this was when I first got into Lambda, and it just kind of happened at the wrong time. So I definitely broke down and cried really bad, and it was when we were going through React, and React just seemed like I walked into Lambda thinking that I knew a little something with my 3 years of self-taught Python scripts from Zed Shaw's series. Nothing really. Anyhow, I pushed through it and I stuck with it. Everything ended up working out really well. I kept the faith, and Lambda continued to believe in me, and I'm very grateful. And I look back and I see, still feel like I struggle with many things, but I look back and I see what I know now compared to what I knew then. I'm so glad that I stuck with it. everything ended up working out. My wife and I are best friends now. I get to see my daughter all the time. I build little apps in React. I get to help other people, and I get to learn from other people. So it's pretty amazing. Thank
Dude,
you.
that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I've got kids too, man, and that can be rough. So I can relate to what you were going through at the start of that, man. And yeah, that's inspirational on its own right there, man, that you were able to keep going and pushing through. And happy to hear now that everything's, good, and you're having kids in a separation, man, and that's rough for everybody. So I'm glad everything's on a good note now.
Everything is, and the programming is amazing. And yeah, it's pretty awesome when you start seeing it all come together.
Definitely. Yeah. That's funny though that you said you had 3 years of experience and then you come in feeling like you knew something. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't arrogant for sure. I was definitely humble, but I thought, no, I've got something in my corner, but no, I didn't. I had nothing.
I'm sure there's numerous other people that could speak to
syntax
that.
knowledge, nothing else. I didn't know what data structures were. I had no idea. Is it time for me to do a whiteboard? I have one in mind that I would love to break the ice with. I think it's the perfect, easy enough, yet challenging enough. If y'all want to go over.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. The only thing, if anybody else had anything they wanted to share, other than that, no, man, it's all you.
Does anyone else have anything they want to share? I'm sorry, if I went too fast. All right, thank you.
I wasn't holding my breath for that. Just yeah.
The one I'd like to go over is the ring buffer. So I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen and kind of talk through it. I found this one to be, I think, perfect. So we have the problem description. A ring buffer is like it's kind of like a history object, and it's instantiated with a number which represents the limit of basically its limit, how many items it can have before it starts rewriting its own history. So let's say you create a ring buffer with 3, and then the items, of course, can be whatever you want. So here we have ABC. Can you all see my screen? So we have ABC, and then when we print out the values, and we have the buffer.allValues, so we have this method that prints out the storage of the ring buffer, which in this case is an array. It's going to print out ABC. Now, if we add another item, since its limit here is 3, if we add a D, the D would go at the very beginning. It's going to start rewriting over again. You add another item, let's say an E, it'd do the same thing the next space. And then if you add an F, it would do the same thing. It would just keep rewriting it. And the limit, again, is the size limit of how big it's going to be before it starts rewriting itself. So there are many ways to approach this, but the thing that helped me was I stumbled on this coding challenge after having played with the C programming language and pointers, which was rather difficult, but it kind of gave me an idea. So one little hint that I would drop would be to figure out a way to use a pointer. Would anyone else like to share their screen, or I can share my screen, continue, and go into Visual Studio Code and start writing, and y'all can talk me through it, or someone else can do it. Okay, I'm going to take that as, we'll do it in JavaScript. So looking at the problem here, all right. The ring buffer is full and a new element is inserted. The oldest element in the ring buffer is overwritten with the newest element. Useful data structure for cases such as storing logs and history information, history objects, where you typically don't want to, you want to store up information until it reaches a certain age, after which you don't care about it anymore and don't mind seeing it overwritten by newer data. So the most obvious example would be a history object, a browser history object, I would think. Implement this behavior in the ring buffer class. Ring buffer has 2 methods, append and all values. The append method adds elements to the buffer, And the all values method returns all of the elements in the buffer ordered from oldest to newest. In other words, least recently added elements first, then most recently added elements. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this in Python if that's okay. So I'm instantiating a class here, and I know that it has to have self for sure. It's kind of like the this keyword in JavaScript. I know it needs to take a parameter that's a number, so we'll call it limit. I would say limit. Some people call it max. I need to do that just to bind it to the constructor, excuse me. So what's the other method? The other method it wants is append. I think I need the self in there, yes. Yeah, of course. And I need a storage object, which will be an array, or what they call a Python list. So there's my storage. I know that I'm going to want to put something in it. So I need to know, first off, if the item is empty, then I know I can just push something into it. If the item is not empty, I need to know how far it's gone through. So, wow, I feel weird and on the spot. So I know I need a pointer. I need two more variables in the constructor. I need a pointer for sure, and I need to do something with this array. I need to make it easier for me to use a pointer. I think that would work. Actually, no, I don't have to necessarily. Maybe I shouldn't overcomplicate it. All right, so.
Couldn't you just make under storage, make a index and then a length? And then what that would do is you would just, yeah, you would know what spot you're at.
Yeah, I've done that before. I've called it a pointer, so I start it at 0. But I've also done something else where I know that we can do this in Python, and we can create an array times, let's say, 3. But I want to use the limit. I'm not sure if that's valid. I want to make it to where it's instantiated the length of the limit, but it doesn't have to be handled that way.
So what does that do? That sets the size of the array, and it won't go any further?
No, all that does is just instantiate it. The pointer and the logic and the append is where I'm going to have it, but like in Python, you could do something like, and then you'll have that. So,
okay. So you're filling up with
it makes it to where, but that isn't necessary. So if we're going to start, wow, if self.storage, that would be length. So if length of the storage is less than, or if it's just equal to 0, we can go ahead and append the item. Otherwise, if it's, let's do an else. So if it's, see, I had a better way of doing this. That's all right. Let me test something real quick. All right. Thank you for your patience, y'all. Because I want to make sure that's valid, because that's the easier way for me to handle that. So, all right, move that out of the way. All right, good. I know that's valid. All right, thank you all for your patience. Cool. So then I can continue on. So that instantiates it, the length of the limit. So I now know, okay, all I have to do is append the item at the pointer, so I don't have to append. I just say self.storage, and then at the self.pointer equals item, which change that, and then we have to increment the pointer, and then we check if the pointer is greater than or equal to the limit -1, or no, if it's just less than, if it's equal to the limit.
Just mod it by the limit.
I'm sorry?
Just mod it by the limit.
How so?
Self.pointer equals mod self.pointer mod limit. So it equals self.pointer mod limit.
What does that do? That's interesting. I like that. Self.pointer equals self.pointer modulus. It returns the remainder of the limit.
Yeah. So if it's
it's
3,
going to, yeah, it's going to automatically increment, and if not, if it's above, then it's going to set it back to 0.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
and I'll always put it in the 1, 2, you know.
Cool. Now that it has another method that it wants, which is all values. Oh, that's going to be easy. All we do is all right, and we can test it out. Test it and grab that. There we go. Oh, yeah, so then I guess I should print that instead of returning it, just for the sake of. So ABC, ABC, DBC, DBC, and DEF. Yeah, it's rewriting it correctly. So it appends an A. It starts out with none, none, none. So the A goes in the first, or the 0th slot of the array, and then the B and the C, and then it's full. So when you start appending it again, it rewrites the 0th item with the D, and then rewrites the first item with the E, and rewrites the second item with the F. Did I explain that okay? Does anyone have any questions? Would anyone else like to share thoughts or comments on a different approach? How would one go about this recursively? Just for fun. I don't know how useful that would be, but.
I'm not sure about the recursive solution to it, but I think maybe trying to rewrite it in JavaScript would be a fun exercise.
Do we have time? I'm happy to do that now. How are we doing on time? I think we have plenty.
Yeah, I think we're just now supposed to be getting done with my guided project, so I think we're good on time.
Class syntax for JavaScript. Why do I think it's something like this. Nope. What's it saying? All right. Sorry if the typing's super loud. There we go. Yeah, okay. All right, so we know we need, look at this again. Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, I know I need a limit. I need storage for sure. Same, make it an array. You know, doing that in JavaScript is harder. I remember running into an issue of trying to instantiate the array with like null, but I think that's all right. And
Yeah, you shouldn't have to initialize it in any way.
yeah.
And Sean, not sure if you need the super keyword under on line 5. Super, yeah, there you go. I don't know if you need it or not.
I'm still unsure about that. I don't think so in this case, but I could be wrong. Maybe. I have to look into that. The class syntax for JavaScript is a little less straightforward to me, even though I use JavaScript way more than Python. So it wants another method. What was it? Just append. So
Only need super if it's the class you're making is a child.
Gotcha. Thanks, man.
I do this because from what I've learned, I don't have to bind it to the constructor if I use arrow functions inside of a class, which is convenient. And I think it's just item. I know I also need a all values. Go ahead and take care of that. All right, and okay, so this will be a little different because I'm not initializing the storage to be the linked, but same thing. If an item comes in, let's say I need to see is the array. No, actually, I can just do this. This dot storage. All right. Or I think in JavaScript I can just do that. Yeah. And if it's the plus before the variable, it increments it and then executes it, and then this is the way. Yeah, that got confusing, but this is and then I need to check. Or wait, you had it the modulo thing, self.pointer equals self.pointer modulo self.limit. Okay. That'll work.
Oh, you do have to add the 1 first. But you could put the plus plus right there.
In front of
This and in front of the second this dot pointer.
like right there?
Yeah.
Oops. Like that, correct?
That should work, yeah.
If not, we'll put it the other way around. And then what else did I do? Oh, that was it, yeah. let's see here. Let's try that and see if it works. Uh-oh, super keyword unexpected. We'll just get that out of there for a minute.
Sorry.
Oh, where is it? Why are you griping at me now? Append equals, oh, yeah. I thought, oh, no, that's right. I think it's something like, no, that's not it.
No, it's put the equal back in there. I think you have to put function in front of append.
I don't.
Function space append equals. Although you shouldn't have to.
No, you know what? Here, we'll do this.
Item. Your linter might have a rule about parentheses on singular function parameters.
Try using a const.
You know what?
Using an arrow function.
All right. Okay, and where is it saying now? Yeah, it's saying, so that's all right, It's, we can just do this.
Try using a const if you're using an arrow function.
And if I have to bind it to the constructor, it'll be all good. There we go. All right. How was it? It was this dot bind.
I think it's this dot name of the function parentheses bind dot this. So this dot what you're trying to bind and then dot this outside of the parentheses on the this.
Like that?
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't look right for some reason. This dot append dot bind dot. Maybe it is. All right. I remember it looking this dot all values. There we go.
I think you have to do this dot append equals this dot append dot bind this.
This dot append equals?
Yeah, this dot append equals this dot append dot bind this. I think, yeah.
Okay. Let's see if that works. If not, I'll just Google fluid reg. Oh no, it did it. There we are. Thank you. Who shared that tidbit with me? Whoever. Thank you very much.
Pedro. Nice
Pedro.
job.
Thank you, Pedro.
Nice job, man.
No problem.
Awesome. And thank you for the though. I cannot see the whole name. THO. And then I see ellipsis REENHA. Thank you for sharing the modulo trick with the pointer. That was really cool. So that successfully did it for both JavaScript and Python. It's a very simple little history object. I could see how this would be useful in many different cases. So any other thoughts?
Thought you did an awesome job.
Thank you. Does everyone understand? Was my explanation adequate as well?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
I understood it.
Awesome. All right. I guess that's all I have. I meant for this to take a little longer, but
Same here.
yeah.
Does that fit what the fastest way to do it is in the solution?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure it is. Because, yeah, let's see. Let's analyze the time complexity. It's a good point. This is just O of n. This is not even O of n. This is O of 1, really. Every time you're adding an item, it's accessing the array at O of 1 because that's the 13, line 13 here. Arrays are O of 1 access, so it's just putting it in wherever the pointer is, and then it's incrementing or resetting the value of the pointer as needed on line 14. So that's O of 1 time complexity with O of n space complexity. Because the storage is an array, and it's going to have up to the limit, so that's O of n for space, but O of 1 for time complexity. Yes, this is as fast as it can be. I think O of 1 is the fastest possible. I guess that is it. We can go over another whiteboard. I don't know if we have the time for that, but that was fun.
We've got about 15-ish minutes. And at the top of the hour, there's supposed to be a careers lesson for anybody to join in, whether you're a newer student or an existing student or TL or SL. So it's up to you guys. We could cut out here and take a little break before the next meeting this morning. We're going to have these every morning, like a guided project, whiteboarding. Currently, we've been doing on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then some whiteboarding on Thursday and Friday, but we're going to do this every day. So please join us. Have somebody different leading every day, so we get some variety and hope to get some discussion going. But that's all I have. If anyone has anything else to say, Michael, or thanks, Anthony, for kicking it off too, and both of you guys for your stories. Like, made it very human, and yeah, I can definitely relate on a certain level. So appreciate it.
I have a question.
What's up, Sam?
So do we just like pick a question and then we just like do it? Like, how does this work? Since this is my first time.
As far as whiteboarding goes, is that what you mean?
Yeah, for whiteboarding.
We're gonna talk today. So far, the new TLs have been with Michael, and the existing ones have been with me. We've been just trying to organize and get through last week because it's been split up a little bit. This week we're hoping to integrate. So today at stand up, I think we'll have a better idea. We're going to try. In the past, we've tried to pick a topic for the whole week for whiteboarding. And we do a variety of different types of exercises, like either some walkthroughs. They might just drop a problem on you guys and we work through it together. They might give it the night before or the afternoon before and give you time to work on it. And then we ask people to, present their solution and then have everyone hop in. So it's going to be a variety. But we'll have more of an idea of how we want to go about this going forward this afternoon, I'm thinking. So if that answers your question for now.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're always welcome to drop ideas in the Lambda X channel. If there's something you really want to go over, please bring it to our attention, and we can definitely do that because it's all about what everyone needs here. There's no set set thing. We have the flexibility or the liberty to be flexible here. So that's what makes it special. We don't have like a set whiteboarding repo that we're trying to knock off or any set guidelines. So it's flexible for everyone to get what they need out of it.
Sounds good.
Cool. Anyone else have a question before we head out for a break? All right, thanks for joining us, guys. I will see you later. This is going to be recorded, so I can drop it in the channel later. Thanks again.
Sounds good. Thanks, Courtney. Have a great day, everybody.